So this is your homework video. And no, you don't have to write an essay or resolve an equation, a mathematical problem. None of that, but you have to listen and see where you find yourself, resonate, take notes, make sure that you get the main points and understand. Also, take notes where you have questions, where you don't understand what I'm talking about, all of that. And I've got my professor glasses on now so that this is this is the lesson, but it's also an introduction to what I do and why and how I got here and where we can possibly help you and how we have helped many others, how I have helped many, many others, very young to very old, find their healthy body, recreate their healthy body, and find their purpose and live a purposeful, happy life. So who am I? I'm Professor Johanna Sophia, and yes, I am also a professor. I have done many things in my life. I have been a Waldorf teacher. I have been a film actress, and I have been a singer in my early years. You can read up more about that. Actually, no, there's no one interview where I'm going extensively into that. But let me just capture the most important parts. From an early age, I have learned, and in my teenage years, I have explored that there are so many people who need help, of course, including myself. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Because I worked with special needs children in a Camp Hill village, and I learned that we can make our body better to receive the being, if you will, that is you and that is me and that is everybody else individually better than when the body is not functioning very well. So even if we have all kinds of impairments, and that for myself goes to that I was born with a little hole in my heart and with really bad tissue and with a crooked spine, and this leads to anemia, and it leads to having to lie in a cast, what do you call that, like a cast, when I was 12, to try and straighten out my spine. So there are all these issues that we have. And I say nobody is born perfect. And therefore, it behooves us, it is important that we attempt to allow nature to at least make the best of what we have, right? And we are surprised, utterly surprised and grateful when that happens and we become suddenly. I ran my first half marathon at age 64. Of course, I had started exercising off and on long before. I had studied modern dance in Paris as a very young woman when I was on stages and in movies, because my body just wasn't strong enough, was the worst in sports, for example, right? So I made an effort and said, I will get better in this body. And I went to Paris as a young woman, stayed in a household where I earned my stay by teaching the owners German, because I spoke German. And that's what paid for my rent. And I went to this wonderful dance school and practiced every day for hours and hours. Now, I'm not saying that you need to be ready to work for hours and hours every day, but you do need to be decided that you really want to get your body in shape, and you need to have the open mind to understand that it's possible. So much is possible. All right, don't mind me I need to keep looking at my notes so that I don't run off topic. So what else have I done in my life? I then became a movie director and writer and so forth. I haven't done very much with that. A couple of movies, won a couple of awards. And then I really, really wanted to be a mother. Now, for many of you, of course, being a parent becomes a very important part of our life, right? It's an experience that most of us want to have, and it's okay if you don't want to have that. But for me, it was very, very important. And then ending up as a single mother, and doing it all, supporting my children and my own health, all at the same time, again, helped me with all these challenges to group myself in a way to harness all that energy that is inherently in our human body and make the most of it, because in so many situations we have to, right? So what can you expect? Now, I understand that you are in a situation where you want to find a way to get out of the dilemma that you are in. Otherwise, you would not be on this call. I remember too clearly how many days I spent crying over the fact that I couldn't get to to the understanding of what I really needed to do in the world what I felt I needed to do. Does that make sense? That sounds very general, right? But we have this sense that we have a purpose, but we wake up with a backache and a headache and we get sick all the time. That was my younger years when I did not know that food has this major impact on our well-being, and where I ended up with colds and ear infections and bronchitis all the time. And then when you learn that, oh my God, it is so simple. Yeah, you just want to cry and say, why is the world so contrary to what actually makes us healthy and happy? But when you get there, all that seems to suddenly not matter anymore. In fact, there's a part in my work, in my training, in my program, where we very intentionally turn our traumas into tools. And we don't wallow in our traumas. We don't have this self-pity that, oh my God, we had so many horrible experiences. But we say, this is the challenge. We survived, and now we're going to turn that challenge into a tool, even a gift, to move us forward, to enable us to then bring to the world, whether it is that you want to help others, whether it is that you want to shine as an example. All of these notions provide purpose. So, transformation requires determination. In our call, there will be a point at which you have the opportunity to decide whether you really want to step into this new chapter of your life. And I just want to gently prepare you making decisions is something that is unique to human beings. And it is also, even for most of us, a new phenomenon in the world for humanity altogether. Because in so many eras in the past, our destiny was determined by our parents. The mason's son would become a mason, the blacksmith's son would become a blacksmith, and of course the king's son would become the next king, right? And the women had their place in the subservient position to men. So for us women especially, but also for men, very, very much so, this is the era where we decide for ourselves what we want, the path we want to pursue. And that decision is often so difficult to get to, right? We push it off, we call it procrastination, we call it, I'm not ready. We call it, let me do this first and let me do that first. So I just want to prepare you that you have the opportunity to make a big decision for yourself. Now, when we get into the process, and the process that I use is in more detail, contrary to what you saw, probably the understand self-healing, learn how biology works, and then moving into the impact of food and experiencing how that works. Then we go to the social environment and how we can surround ourselves or enter into communities, into groups that will support our new lifestyle and that allow us to contribute to the community. And then last but not least, we establish either the new career or the new lifestyle, the new self perception, the being last that allows us to have this super happy body that then permits us to pursue our purpose. When we step into a new chapter, we're at first happy with our decision. Maybe we have doubts, but often the doubts come a little later when it gets hard. And I want to remind myself here, and maybe you too, of what my business coach would say to us. Everything that before you started this program would have stopped you from pursuing further what you set out to pursue here will happen. Somebody close by will die in your family. You will have an accident. All kinds of wrenches will be thrown, and they may not be obviously of your own doing. Life will happen. And still, hopefully you will have the strength to say, this is all part of this learning process, and I'm continuing and getting through it. And there will also be moments where you feel that, oh, you can't get this step done, this meal done, or this event happening, or whichever path you set out. And we will talk, of course, in the beginning of your program, once you made that decision, we will talk about what those goals are that you want to reach in these 12 months together. You will also experience failure. You will also experience, oh my God, I thought I could do this and I can't, and maybe I'm not made for this. A colleague of mine, whom I cherish, recently wrote to her clients, to her tribe, we call it, to her email receivers, that the middle part is messy. And then when we see that the rhythm falls into a natural rhythm that we pursue, the rhythm of life becomes this natural, oh no, this is the way I live now. That's when it becomes easy, beautiful, and light, right? So the beginning is euphoric, the middle is messy, and toward the end, or toward the certificate that you will receive, it gets light, you stepping lightly. What does this mean in physical terms? It means that in the beginning, the first phase, when we do our cleanses and our experience, in my evolve system, it says experience that it works. We feel the impact. We feel like, oh my God, this feels so good. This is so great. And then there is a phase where it becomes harder. Maybe we're encountering groups and friends that do not understand what we're doing, and it is not, you're not yet at the point where you can say, like I do when I go out with my friends and say, oh, don't mind me, I'm crazy, I eat this crazy stuff, so don't worry about me. And I join in the celebration without partaking in foods or behaviors that I know are counterproductive to my well-being and my health. But it's really not that dramatic because, of course, I dance with everybody, I laugh and tell stories, and when I get home, I don't use the regular chemicals in the household and all those other issues that will impair my health and well-being. So as I'm recording this, I am 71 years old. I just got back in a few hours ago from snow shoveling around my big corner lot, which means I am strong enough and I don't have any aches or pains. I wake up in the morning and I put a smile on my face when I look out the window, because life and the world, this little planet, is beautiful. It just is. And the fact that I'm here and don't have any of the suffering that I see around me with so many people so much younger than I am can sometimes sadden me, and so much destruction in the world. And still there is this gratitude I get to experience. And now I get to, for decades and decades, again and again, get to share this well-being experience with others. So you will be pill-free, medication-free. Maybe there'll be, I use a green powder, for example, that I recommend, but you don't have to. The foods and the breathing and the fitness and the mindset and the supportive communities that we will have, that you will have by the end of the program, even almost immediately, very soon, allows you to have this gratitude for being pain-free, pill-free, and aging with, the word glee comes to mind, but that's not really what I mean. But it's almost like, oh my God, it is the best time of my life because I have so much experience and my brain is clear. And my ability to function and logically think and to create and to analyze and to understand is so vastly expanded because of this lifespan that I just don't want it to stop. The more I learn, the merrier. And because my brain is clear, I retain better than I did in my 20s. It's an interesting thing that when we allow our biology to function well and we allow ourselves to be ever joyful, it is the best of all worlds. And it doesn't mean that we don't see anymore the cruelty and horrors that go on in the world, sometimes even more so. But at the same time, we also have the understanding that we are the ones who are the forerunners for others, the examples of how to get through to that level of joyful, pain-free, pill-free living. So there's one more element that is incredibly important for your positive outcome should you decide to join the program. And that is that we must find, each and every one of us in their own way, but I can assist in that, find your purpose, your dream, your vision, and know that in whichever shape or form it will manifest, you will get there. It will not be the castle on the hill that we have seen as children when we wanted to be the princess in the castle, the king in the castle, but it will be that sense of you have gotten there, you have achieved. So, what do we practically need to go through? And I'm going to now go to I call it my evolve system. And here we go. So evolve stands for, come on, open up. Here we go. Of course, I know it by heart, but I don't want to forget anything or misstep. So ironically, I created this, and still I created so much in my life, I forget a lot of what I created. Evolve, explore what you really want. So that's step one almost. You know, you need to get a sense and some kind of clarity. And even if we allow for that want to change during the time that you're in this program, it needs to be there to have a vision to work toward. So explore what you really want. Next step is V for verify that it works. So by that time, we have understood how self-healing works intellectually, and then we physically experience it by the cleanse that we do. And of course, that is done with food and breathing. Deep breathing is very important in my program as well. There's a particular method. Verify the science also. So we look at how biology works. We look at how it happens that we cleanse and that we feel suddenly so much better. And it's only been a few days. So I've had the most extraordinary experiences with clients, you know, after 10 days complete immobility, complete diabetes and arthritis and immobility, literally having to go to the bathroom every 20 minutes. To walking a mile around the block, sleeping through the night with just one urination after just 10 days of doing my program. So it is, of course, wise to then continue. You don't want to fall back because, yes, the body will fall back if you mess with the healing process too early, because you feel so much better, but the body isn't done rearranging itself, right? Rebuilding itself. Okay, so we have E for explore, V for verify, O for overcome your traumas and your obstacles. So overcome your obstacles, and that's where we work on turn your traumas into tools, right? The traumas that we've experienced, we all have trauma, even just sometimes from being in your mother's womb, we all have trauma, some a lot more than others. I've had some very, very severe trauma experiences. And some say, well, I don't really have any trauma. I just need to get healthy. Well, then we need to look, why did you get unhealthy? Where are those traumas? And it could just be like, I mean, I could say that my traumas are that I felt like the ugly duckling throughout my grade school, middle school years, and everybody else was pretty, and I was too tall for all the boys, and I was too shy and didn't know what to do. And then I was in love with these boys, and they were, you know, they would give my carefully selected silver friendship rings that I would share. I did have I guess the confidence that I could even buy those and want to share them. And the boy said, oh, thank you. I think I will give the other ring to, to this other girl, a cute short girl. So, those experiences impact us in terms of our self-esteem, right? And now we can laugh about them because this seems so silly, but they traumatize us because our self-worth is so severely diminished. And it leads to all these self-doubts, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not beautiful enough, and especially for us women, but for boys too, I'm not muscular enough, I'm not handsome enough, I'm not tall, and all of these issues. So overcome your traumas, turn your traumas into tools. The next is love your body as it is. We will already have started working on everybody on their fitness. But it is essential that we embrace what we have with all its defects at the moment so that we can make the most of it. So love your body as it is, that we make an extra effort to gain strength and begin to live a new rhythm with food, exercise, breathing, confidence. And we get to the level of, okay, now we have this new vitality, that's the second V here, vitality achieved. What do we do with it? Now we want to include the world, bring our vitality to the world, join other societies, groups, and enjoy, maybe repair old friendships that had gotten lost, or family relationships that had gone sour. So this is the time of putting ourselves more into the world, into community, family, and associations that support us. There's always a group that wants to support you and admires you for what we're doing. So that is also very important, societal support. And then we get to, last but not least, establish your own system, and it's a little different for everybody. Establish your own system and how you want to keep the new lifestyle in your version going so that you can keep your super happy body happy and move into your next chapter. And some of you will want to establish a new career while we're in the second part of the 12-month program. And for that, there are more steps to follow, but we will talk about that in our meeting, whether that is for you or not. Others will want to figure out how they can upgrade their current career situation. Others will just want to get healthy and be there for their grandchildren, right? Which is a huge and incredibly important task that we have lost. Whole studies have been done on the grandma effect, right? On the grandparent effect, because it works for grandpas too. I loved my grandfather. Oh my God, when I was 7, I think I said to him, I'll marry you when I grow up. Oh dear, the concept, right? That aging is a thing, and he was not the youngest. So, it is a wonderful, wonderful thing to be a wise older person. And the young and the teenagers need us to be there for them, need to be mentally, emotionally functioning for them. Because in this, especially in this electronic world, right? In this screen-filled world, in this AI world, in this, yeah, not real world. There are so many kids and teenagers that are so lost. And they have no grandma to play with them, talk with them, read with them, text with them, and yet just go out on hikes in the forest, right? Or swimming, or whatever it may be. Because if this body of a 60, 70, 80-year-old is no longer functioning, we're no good as grandmas. All right. So yeah, the last step is establish your own system, whether that's your health system or whether that's health plus a coaching system. And then we have a ceremony for our certificates and your graduation. You also have to write throughout the program. Not a lot, not big essays, but a couple of sentences a day in our journal that we keep so that you have a track record of what happens throughout this year that you're going to spend with me and the group. Let me see whether I have missed things. So I'm sure I have, but it doesn't matter. I just wanted to give you this hopefully not too confusing account of what we do. And I want to give you a couple of examples of what can happen. Let's say when I was young and working in Zimbabwe, I founded, my first marriage was to a Zimbabwean, and I lived and worked in Zimbabwe for 4.5 years. And I founded Stage Studio as a studio where I taught I taught modern dance because that's what I had studied for, and I taught fitness classes, and I taught children in movement and fun games and not really gymnastics, but movement. And I taught an acting class. And with my acting students, I developed, because they were such a mixed crowd. They were Africans, they were Europeans who had grown up in a very segregated, very apartheid society. And I was there in the early 80s, just after Zimbabwe's independence. So I needed to bring all these healing modalities to my students who were of these different backgrounds, but wanted to learn acting. So I developed this deep relaxation program where they would all lie on the ground, and I would talk them through this deep relaxation, and they would let go of their tensions, and they would come back up and they would say, Johanna, you have to make a movie about this so that we can watch it and keep doing it, or you have to do a recording. And I never did. In a way, it's sad, but the experience is so much more important. The experience that these students had from all these different backgrounds was that they came to a greater harmonious being with themselves, and therefore also with each other. When you are so divided, right, you have the whites who've been rich and who've been told that they're better, and you have the Africans who've been told that they're inferior, but they know deep inside that they are just as good, if not better. Or that's let's not go there, just as good, but they had just won independence, and with a long time of revolution. And these two now wanted to be friends, but there was so much tension, and it's almost like anger and or guilt are encased in your body, even if you're intellectually, mentally ready to let go and be together. And you will find that those tensions are in all of us. It may not be because of apartheid, it may be because of very different reasons in the world that we live in. So working on healing that divide has taught me, or that experience of allowing my students to do deep relaxation together and then some movement exercises together, has taught me that it is very possible, but it requires that kind of work, that deep, deep relaxation work. It's more than meditation. It's different. And I'll show it to you when we get there. So, yeah, many tears were flowing, but tears of release and tears of insight and forgiveness, and because we need to forgive ourselves when we want to heal, whether it's from physical issues or from emotional issues, from anxiety, from fear, etc. We need to forgive ourselves and allow for that letting go and arising like the phoenix from the ashes. Does that make sense? So then I have throughout my life learned that very severe acne and it can disappear within a couple of weeks, few weeks. That severe anxiety can dissipate, that self-destructiveness, like anorexia in young people, can go away and a new life purpose arise, and young women that I was working with, become mothers against all odds and have this beautiful, purposeful life when they were, after they had just survived, in one case, 7 suicide attempts, severe ones with hospitalizations, etc. So, and then you have the older ones, like the gentleman who I just talked about, who after 10 days, was walking and sleeping and felt amazing. And then you have to keep it up. And that's why our program is not just 10 days, but it is that full year. So it can be integrated into everything that you do. Most of you will be working or will be having things on a daily or weekly basis to do. And therefore you cannot commit 24/7 for 10 days to the self-healing. But you have to have something like an hour or two a day available that you need to do this program. So yeah, I could tell you endless amounts of stories, of course, but enough said, you too will have your very own healing experience. And yeah, the failures occur when the work is not long enough and people fall back. And yes, of course, I have seen those too and experienced clients who did not have the emotional, mental energy to continue. There's something to be said that we cling to our diseases or issues because they feel so much like part of our identity that it's hard to let go and not need them anymore. It's an interesting thing, but it's a very real thing. So I hope you've taken notes, and I hope you have found some resonance in you with what I'm talking about. If that is so, you will be excited, and in our conversation, we will talk in much more practical terms what will happen. And you know a little bit of how I am and how I think and how I may work with you. And if that resonates, then let's do it. I look forward to meeting you in the Zoom call for your discovery call, possibly your decision-making call. Ciao. Be well.